Hi, I'm Scott Heim. I'm the author of this book from Harper Perennial, Mysterious Skin, which was also a movie a couple of years ago, and I'm the author of a new book coming out in February of 2008, also from Harper Perennial, called We Disappear. If you saw the film I've been making with this, I've been answering questions that are in this bowl that my publisher put in here for me, and really I have not seen these until now. So what I've been doing is pulling these out and answering them, and there's a few more. So this one, just all it says is best habit, worst habit. I guess sort of to make this refer to my books, I'll just tell you that I have very terrible writing habits. I tend to be one of those writers who only really works when inspired. And I admire writers who have a set schedule every day where they get up at 8 and write for 4 hours, but I've never really been that kind of writer. So I will say when my book is sort of getting close to being done, I usually have a habit of, writing nonstop and not doing anything else. But I'd say my writing habits are probably my worst habits. Let's see. Aside from other writers, name some other artists or musicians you draw inspiration from and describe their work. Yeah, that's a good question, just because I think I'm probably more inspired by musicians than other writers. I feel like if I'm working on a book really heavily, I tend not to write other fiction. Because I don't want it to sort of infuse or influence what I'm writing. So when I'm working really hard on something, I usually only read nonfiction or poetry. But I do listen to music a lot when I write. I think maybe actually that's, some people think that's a bad habit. Maybe that could be considered one of my worst habits about writing. But because a lot of other writers tend to only want silence when they write. But I find a lot of inspiration in music that doesn't necessarily have lyrics, but is really kind of moody and usually melancholy, but is mostly instrumental. Or maybe bands like some of my favorite bands are bands like Sigur Rós or Cocteau Twins, who don't necessarily sing in English language or sing sort of more sounds than actual words or lyrics. I always wish I listen to music and I have like really strong emotional or visceral reaction, and I wish that I could somehow get that across in what I write. Like, I think the ultimate compliment would be that if a reader could get that sort of experience through something I wrote, that I get through when I listen to music. Okay, last one. There are many mentions of baseball and/or Little League in your writing. Tell us about this interest. What position did you play? Favorite professional team and player? Well, now that I live in Boston, my favorite team is definitely the Boston Red Sox. But yeah, as a kid, my father was a softball coach. He was mostly coached women, like really competitive. Like his women's softball team, like we got second in the nation one year and third the next year. So I always sort of grew up playing softball or baseball, and then when I moved to New York, I was on like a softball team for a while. So yeah, I think it's just something that's always sort of crept into everything I've written. Of course, I guess my fear was when I wrote Mysterious Skin that people would think that the coach in my book was based on my father because he was a coach in real life, which wasn't true at all. But yeah, I guess we write about what we know, or the things that we sort of were affected by the most as kids, and that's certainly something that was always part of my life. So it's something I think that's crept into my writing a lot. So yeah, that's the end of this bowl. So I'll stop there.